He told me I would never stand at his level. 2 years later, he stood outside a glass tower that carried my name on its entrance. Cameras flashed, reporters waited, and he could not step inside without my permission. He asked what changed. I told him nothing changed, only the definition of value. Now, look at him. Standing there outside my building, my name glowing behind glass like sunlight, and he cannot even breathe properly. Cameras keep flashing. His jaw twitches. He tries to look composed, but I can see the tremor in his hands. Oh, how small his confidence looks now. When our eyes meet, he swallows hard. "Hazel," he says, barely above a whisper. "Please." His voice falters, and the sound of it makes my heart twist for just a second. Oh, that tone, once so familiar, so gentle. But no, not this time. I smile faintly. "Please?" I echo, letting out a little laugh. "You used to love hearing that word from me, remember?" He opens his mouth, but no words come. The silence feels heavy, almost cruel. I take a step closer, heels clicking sharply. I can see the reflection of my own face in the glass behind him, steady, tearful, strong. He stammers, "You built this?" The way he says it, half shock, half disbelief, makes me want to laugh again. "Yes," I say quietly. "Every inch of it." My throat tightens. I breathe through it. "Every piece you told me I was not capable of. I built it." My voice trembles. "You told me I was dreaming too high, remember? Turns out that is how towers are made." He looks down. I can see guilt spreading across his face, slow, heavy, like rain on glass. "Hazel, I did not mean to hurt you." The laugh that leaves my lips is soft, shaky, half a sob, half a sigh. "You never meant to, right?" "You just did." My voice breaks slightly. "You broke me so quietly that I started to believe I was fixing myself wrong." His eyes glisten. He blinks too fast. "I was wrong," he murmurs, voice low. I breathe out, long, trembling. "Yes," I whisper. "You were." There is a pause. Somewhere behind us, a camera clicks. Reporters murmur. The world watches, but all I hear is the sound of my heartbeat. I look at him, this man who once towered over me, and for the first time I feel tall. He tries again. "We can fix this. Please, Hazel." I almost laughed. "Fix this?" I shake my head slowly, smiling through tears that sting my eyes. "You cannot fix what you never built." He exhales, defeated. "You have changed." I wipe my cheek and smile. "No," I say softly. "I just stopped apologizing for being strong." He looks lost, almost broken now. I feel a pang of something, sadness maybe, but it passes like wind. "Goodbye," he whispers. "Goodbye?" I repeat, my lips trembling into a quiet laugh. "Oh no, goodbye was the day you told me I would never stand at your level." For a second, he looks at me like he might cry. I turn away, step toward the glass doors. My reflection meets me, and I feel something rise in my chest. Warmth, relief, something close to joy. The cameras flash again. I smile, tears still wet, my laugh shaky but real. "Ha ha ha, look at this," I whisper to myself. He told me I would never stand at his level. And now he cannot even reach the floor I am standing on. My voice catches. A quiet, breathy sound escapes, something between a sob and a laugh. Ah, it hurts, but it is beautiful. I take one last look at him, small and silent outside my glass tower, and whisper under my breath, This is peace." Then I walk inside, the doors sliding shut behind me, and the echo of his silence follows me no more. Morning began with precision. The kettle sang for exactly 4 minutes, the light through the window traced the counter for 7, and the ring I wore caught the sun like it wanted to remember me. Every movement had order, because order was the only thing that belonged to me. And oh, how badly I needed that sense of control just to breathe. He loved control too, but of a different kind. My husband believed control was ownership. He collected rooms, cars, and people with the same hunger he used for brands. Everything around him was a reflection, never a connection. Our house gleamed like a showroom, ha ha ha. Shiny, perfect, lifeless. But oh, it felt nothing like a home. Each wall carried his taste, not mine. The paintings were expensive, but they said nothing. The silence between us was even more costly, and sometimes it screamed louder than words ever could. I worked as an architect, the kind who builds structures that outlive their builders. Blueprints kept me sane. They did not lie. Lines meant what they meant. Calculations had consequences. In design, truth could not be negotiated. In marriage, it was different. Painfully different. Every morning, he left later than I did. He called it confidence. I called it lateness disguised as power. "People wait for me," he said once, smiling at his reflection more than at me. I smiled too, a small, tight smile that hid the quiet laugh building in my throat. Someday, I thought, time will stop waiting for you. At my office, the air smelled of ink, steel, and ambition. My team respected me, even if they feared deadlines. Alina managed clients with quiet authority. Javier drew structures that breathed. They both said I was relentless. They were right. Haha. Relentless was the only thing I could afford to be. On my desk sat a sealed envelope. My name was written across it in neat black ink. It had arrived 3 days ago from the Municipal Design Committee. I had not opened it yet. Not because I forgot, but because I wanted to open it on my own terms. I knew it contained something important, a project proposal or perhaps an invitation. It could change everything. That envelope waited like a heartbeat under paper, pulsing quietly, reminding me that hope still existed somewhere, even if it was small. Every architect keeps one object that feels sacred. Mine was a small silver key. It hung beside my drafting board on a thin chain. I had engraved one word on it. Later. It reminded me that someday, the life I built for others would finally belong to me. At home, the same key meant nothing. He had keys to everything but never asked where mine fit. He believed a woman's world ended where his shadow began. Oh, if only he knew how much light could still live in that shadow. Evenings were scripted. He chose the restaurant, the wine, the topics. I chose silence, because silence keeps peace longer than truth does. When the bill arrived, he smiled as if generosity was performance art. I watched him, lips pressed, half amused, half exhausted. He came from wealth, old and polished. I came from work, steady and clean. He once told me, "You cannot buy a class. You inherit it." I remember laughing softly, ha ha ha, not because it was funny, but because it was proof that he had never built anything real in his life. Our differences began as contrast and became competition. He wanted admiration. I wanted purpose. He wanted applause. I wanted foundation. We were both builders, but for opposite reasons. One Thursday evening, while reviewing blueprints for a client, my phone buzzed. It was him. Dinner. 8. Black tie. No question mark, no warmth. I sighed, whispering to no one. Of course. My voice catching somewhere between sarcasm and sadness. That night's dinner was not about food. It was about display. He had been invited to a gala downtown, the kind that gathered the wealthy and the almost wealthy under one chandelier. The invitation was embossed with gold, as if approval had a texture. The ballroom was filled with people who mistook laughter for status. Crystal glasses caught light, and polished shoes whispered across marble floors. I recognized a few faces from magazines, the kind of people who use names like brands and compliments like currency. I smiled politely, the kind of smile that hides fatigue, that trembles just before it fades. My husband walked with the confidence of a man who believed the world owed him attention. He shook hands with people who already looked past him. I stood beside him, smiling when necessary, observing always the good wife in the golden dress. Halfway through the evening, I saw her, the chairwoman of the Municipal Design Committee. She had been my toughest client 2 years ago, but she respected work that stood on merit. She nodded at me, a small gesture, yet it carried weight. She owed me a favor. I had not planned to use it, not yet. My heart skipped, a soft awe leaving my lips as I realized fate still remembered my name. Later that night, a waiter slipped a small envelope beside my plate. The same green ink, the same seal. The chairwoman's assistant had written a note. Coffee at 7. There is a matter best discussed in person. I slid the envelope into my clutch and hid my reaction behind a sip of wine. My husband did not notice. He was too busy telling a stranger how difficult it was to find good help. Oh, ha 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 ha. He always found that line so charming. When the speeches began, he leaned close and whispered, "You will like this. They are announcing a cultural district, something elite. But you will not fit in there yet. It takes time." He said it with a smirk, not cruelty, but arrogance so natural it no longer needed effort. Around us, applause filled the air. I felt the humiliation slip beneath my ribs, quiet but sharp. My throat burned. My eyes stung. I swallowed the ache and smiled anyway. Later, when the orchestra played, he extended his hand. "Dance?" he asked. His tone made it sound like duty. I nodded. "Sure," I said, the word thin as glass. On the dance floor, his hand rested on my waist like a claim, not a connection. The music was soft, but my thoughts were loud. Every turn felt like choreography for a life that was not mine anymore. I smiled, laughed faintly when he did, but inside, something wept quietly. Ah, that deep, wordless ache of knowing you do not belong anymore. A man nearby, a developer I once pitched to, recognized me. He smiled politely and said, "Your firm does fine work, Mrs. Vaughn. Does your husband still handle your clients?" He laughed, assuming it was harmless humor. My husband laughed too. "She builds them," he said, "but I sell the dream." The crowd joined the laughter. Small, polite, cruel. My face stayed calm. My pulse did not. It pounded in my ears until the sound drowned out everything else. That moment tilted everything. It was not the insult. It was the ease with which he delivered it. The certainty that I would remain silent, as I always did. When the music ended, I stepped away. He reached for me, but I had already moved toward the terrace, where the air was colder and the truth easier to breathe. The city lights spread beneath the balcony, a network of glass veins. Somewhere in those streets, my office waited, and the sealed envelope lay under the weight of its own importance. I thought of the key on my desk, engraved with "later." Maybe later had finally arrived. Behind me, the door opened. His voice followed. "You left in the middle of a conversation." "I left when it stopped being one," I said quietly. He chuckled, low and self-satisfied. "You are too sensitive. You must learn to laugh at yourself. People like us live on perception. It is what separates the refined from the resentful. People like us?" I asked, turning toward him. He smiled with the softness of someone who enjoys condescension. "You are talented, Hazel, but you will never match my status. Some things cannot be built. They are inherited." The words cut deep, slicing through my composure. My lips parted, but no sound came. He left before I could answer. His words did not echo. They sank, deep, heavy, unforgiving. Inside, the orchestra played something cheerful, ha ha ha, as if the universe enjoyed irony. One sentence had just divided my life in two. When the night ended, the driver opened the car door with a bow. I sat beside him in silence as city lights slid across the window like moving reflections of everything I had built for others. At home, he went upstairs without looking back. I walked into my office, switched on the lamp, and stared at the sealed envelope. My fingers hovered, then withdrew. Not yet. Instead, I unlocked the drawer and took out the small key. The word "later" caught the light again. I placed it beside the envelope. Two symbols of choice. One represented what he thought I could never become. The other represented what I already was. Something he could not see because arrogance makes men blind. I sat there until the first gray light entered the window. Tears slipped down my cheek, soft and quiet, and I let them fall this time. It felt strange, freeing. I smiled through the blur, whispering to myself, "He will see." Then I wrote a single sentence on a note and placed it over the envelope. Some foundations must fall before anything real can stand. My voice trembled as I read it aloud. Yes, I whispered. Some must fall. I did not know then that those words would become a blueprint for everything that followed. The clock struck 6. He stirred upstairs. Coffee began its morning hum. Life still moved like nothing had happened. But something had. Something huge. The balance had shifted. The insult was small enough to hide in memory, yet sharp enough to split the future clean in half. I rose, dressed for work, and left before he came down. The air outside was cold and precise. I walked toward the train station and saw my reflection in a window. It did not look like a woman humiliated. It looked like a woman drawing her first line on a blank page. And I smiled, softly, proudly, through quiet tears, and whispered, "Ha ha ha ha. Later begins now." Streetlights still glowed when I reached the studio ahead of everyone. The sealed envelope waited where I had left it, weighty as a paused verdict. The small silver key engraved with "later" lay beside it like a witness that did not tire. I brewed coffee that tasted like resolve and opened my laptop to steady my hands. Emails stacked themselves like scaffolding. Vendor updates. Site photos. 2 confirmations. But one subject line pinned me to my chair. Security alert. New login from unknown device. My breath caught. My heart stuttered. The timestamp trailed the gala by minutes. The location read Riverside Hotel Private Lounge. My chest tightened. The alert belonged to the personal archive I kept in the cloud. Photos I never posted, scanned receipts, a quiet journal that mapped years without commentary. My throat burned. Ow! Like betrayal was something I could taste. A second alert waited below it. Patient. Cruel. File moved to trash. The name was small and sharp. Tax, R5, personal.pdf. My stomach dropped. Instinct reached for the recycle bin, then withdrew. Sometimes deletion is louder than dust. A knock lifted me from the screen. I blinked too fast, forcing composure. Alina stepped in with a paper cup and a look that understood boundaries. "Site meeting at 9, she said softly. "Carlos wants you to see the anchor plate set before inspection." "Tell him I will be there," I said, voice tight, almost shaking. "Ask for photos from both angles." She paused at the door. "The municipal chair confirmed coffee at 7 tomorrow." She added, counsel. The word echoed. It turned simple coffee into something colder. I forced a smile. Noted. My phone buzzed. A text from the man who still called himself my husband. "Dinner tonight, 8, wear blue." Ha ha ha, commands disguised as affection. I stared at the words until they blurred, then picked up the envelope and the key. The riverfront split the morning in clean pieces. Cranes leaned over the water like patient teachers. Carlos met me at the temporary fencing with a tablet in hand. "Anchor plate ready." "Inspector inbound." We climbed the catwalk. Steel cables hummed. The plate descended on slings and settled with precision. The sound, the deep metallic sigh, calmed me. Wrenches sang. Levels agreed. For a moment, work felt pure. It always did. The pass came quickly. Work done correctly never begs for attention. A number I had not seen in 2 years flashed across my screen. Nicole Ferrara. My throat tightened. Her voice, sharp, measured, filled the line. "A mutual acquaintance mentioned your name. I hear conflict review tomorrow. If you want an early read, I have 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. My office," I replied. "Bring anything that smells like exposure," she said. Timing wins more than outrage. I almost smiled. Ha ha ha, because she was right. Back at the studio, the air smelled of warm paper. Alina met me with a narrow box wrapped in matte black. "Courier from the Riverside Hotel," she said quietly. Inside was an ivory envelope stamped with a crest I recognized instantly. 3 photographs slid into my palm. My pulse stumbled. The first showed my husband on a balcony with a woman in a pale dress. My heart dropped so fast it hurt. The timestamp read 11:17 p.m., the very minute I had stepped onto that terrace to breathe alone. The second photo, oh, my God, the private lounge, their faces close. A flute between them like a secret handshake. The third, The final nail showed him at the bar, card extended, leather folio open. The imprint listed Suite 1509, hourly extension, and a room service charge, chef's selection, 2. The last 4 digits of the card matched our joint account. I sat back. For a moment, everything was silent except the faint hum of the lights above me. Then a quiet, shaking laugh escaped. "Of course," I whispered. "Ha ha ha, of course." Shock did not come. Evidence had already taken its place. I slid the photos back into their envelope, my hands trembling just slightly. Filing is a way to breathe without breaking down. Alina placed a second note on the desk. "The chair moved the coffee to a conference room and will bring counsel." Unusual. Unusual is better than vague, I murmured, still staring at the photos. Then a chat bubble blinked on my screen. Marcus. "My brother. Croatia next month? He wants to reserve a villa. You in?" Another bubble. "He promised to cover flights if we book by Friday." I froze. Friday matched a pending transfer on the joint account. A hollow laugh escaped me. Patterns reveal themselves when silence listens long enough. I typed, "Let me check my calendar," and closed the window. At 2, Nicole arrived. Charcoal suit, leather notebook, eyes that missed nothing. "Give me the shape," she said. "Conflict review at 7. Unknown login from the Riverside Hotel. 3 photographs and a receipt charged to the joint card. A pending transfer clearing Friday. Family messages that sound rehearsed." She began to write, pen slicing the page like a scalpel. "Motive, status, and proximity to power. Means your shared access. Moment. Now because your work is entering rooms that used to belong to him." I blinked hard. "What do you need from me?" "Operating agreements, titles, post-nuptial if it exists, evidence chains, screenshots, metadata. We will freeze the joint account before the close of business." "The post-nuptial exists," I said quietly. "Find it," she replied. I pulled the folder from the cabinet, hands steady now. She scanned, nodded. Separate property remains separate. Business income remains separate. Joint accounts limited to household expenses. Assets acquired through your LLC belong to your LLC, clean. Her tone was satisfaction disguised as law. The photos, anonymous sender. Could be a warning. Could be a taunt. Could be someone trying to survive what they know. She tapped the receipt. "Merchant code?" I forwarded the screenshot. The bank confirmed, Riverside Group Hospitality. The timestamp matched the image perfectly. "I will draft the freeze letter now," she said. "If the chair asks about conflict, answer with recusal policy. Sit with the light behind them." She left. I exhaled, long, shaking, a laugh stuck somewhere in my throat. "Ha ha ha," my voice cracked. The room felt lighter. I opened the sealed committee letter at last. A provisional appointment to the Urban Resilience Subcommittee. My eyes filled suddenly, half joy, half pain. Contingent on conflict review due to active work in the district. Bring disclosures you believe relevant. The door stood open if I entered correctly. The program from the gala still sat folded in my bag. A date circled in ink 3 weeks ahead. A closed-door reception for donors and lead creatives. That night could not be missed. That would be the room where I would make them see. I added the date to my notes with one line beside it. Arrive with proof. The bank ledger stared back at me. One transaction missing sense. A transfer set for Friday, 9:02 a.m. A hotel authorization Thursday, 11:24 p.m. His calendar said he was across town. The numbers lied for him, but not to me. Evening settled. The team packed up. I stayed silent as a companion now. The joint account displayed balances, restaurants I had never dined in, jewelry I never wore, a storage unit fee I had never approved. My jaw tightened. The address sat near the train yard, June texted. "He says the committee meets Saturday. Do not push yourself with these civic things. Not every seat is a good seat." Concern wrapped in poison. I smiled sadly. You have no idea," I whispered. Night thickened. I left the office, crossed the bridge, and followed the map. The storage facility loomed under sodium lamps. The attendant looked up, blinking. "Recent visits?" I asked. He checked the log. 2 daytime, 1 late. Always alone. He slid me a clipboard. My breath hitched. The screen showed a camera feed. Him. My husband. Rolling crate, phone, lock, practice, precision. I watched the footage, teeth pressed together until my jaw hurt. He opened the unit. A flash of canvas, a small safe, tubes, a garment box with the boutique logo from his card charges. He signed something, turned the page, and left. The feed cut to static, resumed, empty. I exhaled, slow, trembling. "All right," I whispered. "All right." The lights hummed above me. The world did not flinch. I left the card with the address burning in my hand like proof too hot to hold. Home smelled of his candle. His coat on the chair. His lies hang in the air like perfume. He walked in, polished, smiling. "You are late," he said. "You will miss the reservation," I replied, calm but shaking. "You are in a mood." "I am on a calendar," I said flatly. "I have the morning at 7. "The committee?" he asked, pretending casual concern. "You should let me handle those rooms." I smiled faintly. "You already handle enough rooms." Silence cracked the air. He mistook it for surrender. "We can discuss this in the car. Wear blue. It flatters you when the light hits." "Wear whatever you like," I said softly. "You will be dining alone." His mouth tightened. "You will regret this tone when you need introductions." The phone on the counter buzzed. "Clara, suite confirmed." "Same view. Bring the card." He froze. I slid the phone toward him, lips trembling into a quiet laugh. "Ha ha ha," before I could stop it. He pocketed the device, adjusted his cuff, muttered, "I will be back late." "I am aware," I said. My voice was too calm. He left. The sound of the door closing was almost kind. I made tea. The kettle sang. The steam fogged the glass and cleared again. I stood there smiling faintly, eyes wet. "Ah, look at that," I whispered. Still boiling, still breathing. Then I worked. I opened my laptop, created a folder. Receipts are primary. I added the photographs, alerts, bank screenshots, and the committee letter. My pulse steadied as I typed. A 1-page timeline with hours and locations. Proof, pure and simple. My mother's message arrived next. "He told us you are under strain. Best to let him shepherd the civic work. He understands those levels. Love wrapped in erasure. Marcus again. Flights are cheaper if we book by Friday." I laughed quietly. No humor in it this time. I placed the binder, the letter, and the key into my bag. The house hummed softly. I turned off the light, and for once, the dark did not scare me. In bed, I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding like a construction hammer in my chest. Tears slipped quietly. One after another. I let them fall until they stopped. Dawn came pale and cold. I rose, dressed, tied my hair back. At the sink, the ring waited. I touched it once, exhaled, and left it there. A single text blinked on the screen. "Breakfast after the meeting. We should align our talking points." I smiled faintly, powered the phone down. Talking points require shared purpose. We had none left. The key pressed into my palm through the fabric of my bag, cool and constant. I stepped outside, heart steady, no anger. No fear, just sequence, schedule, proof. Ha ha ha. He will see, and when he does, he will realize. This silence is not surrender. It is the sound of the ground shifting beneath his feet. Streetlights still glowed when I reached the studio ahead of everyone. The sealed envelope waited where I had left it, weighty as a paused verdict. The small silver key engraved with "later" lay beside it like a witness that did not tire. I brewed coffee that tasted like resolve and opened my laptop to steady my hands. Emails stacked themselves like scaffolding. Vendor updates, site photos, 2 confirmations. But one subject line pinned me to my chair. Security alert. New login from unknown device. My breath caught. My heart stuttered. The timestamp trailed the gala by minutes. The location read Riverside Hotel, private lounge. My chest tightened. The alert belonged to the personal archive I kept in the cloud. Photos I never posted, scanned receipts, a quiet journal that mapped years without commentary. My throat burned. Like betrayal was something I could taste. A second alert waited below it. Patient. Cruel. File moved to trash. The name was small and sharp. Tax weir5 personal.pdf. My stomach dropped. Instinct reached for the recycle bin, then withdrew. Sometimes deletion is louder than dust. A knock lifted me from the screen. I blinked too fast, forcing composure. Alina stepped in with a paper cup and a look that understood boundaries. "Site meeting at 9, she said softly. "Carlos wants you to see the anchor plate set before inspection." "Tell him I will be there," I said, voice tight, almost shaking. "Ask for photos from both angles." She paused at the door. "The municipal chair confirmed coffee at 7 tomorrow." She added counsel. The word echoed. It turned simple coffee into something colder. I forced a smile. "Noted." My phone buzzed. A text from the man who still called himself my husband. "Dinner tonight. 8. Wear blue." Ha ha ha, commands disguised as affection. I stared at the words until they blurred, then picked up the envelope and the key. The riverfront split the morning in clean pieces. Cranes leaned over the water like patient teachers. Carlos met me at the temporary fencing with a tablet in hand. "Anchor plate ready?" "Inspector inbound." We climbed the catwalk. Steel cables hummed. The plate descended on slings and settled with precision. The sound, the deep metallic sigh, calmed me. Wrenches sang. Levels agreed. For a moment, work felt pure. It always did. The pass came quickly. Work done correctly never begs for attention. A number I had not seen in 2 years flashed across my screen. Nicole Ferrara. My throat tightened. Her voice, sharp measured, filled the line. "A mutual acquaintance mentioned your name. I hear a conflict review tomorrow. If you want an early read, I have 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. My office," I replied. "Bring anything that smells like exposure," she said. Timing wins more than outrage. I almost smiled, ha, because she was right. Back at the studio, the air smelled of warm paper. Alina met me with a narrow box wrapped in matte black. "Courier from the Riverside Hotel," she said quietly. Inside was an ivory envelope stamped with a crest I recognized instantly. 3 photographs slid into my palm. My pulse stumbled. The first showed my husband on a balcony with a woman in a pale dress. My heart dropped so fast it hurt. The timestamp read 11:17 p.m., the very minute I had stepped onto that terrace to breathe alone. The second photo, oh, my God. The private lounge, their faces close, a flute between them like a secret handshake. The third, the final nail, showed him at the bar. Card extended, leather folio open. The imprint listed Suite 1509, hourly extension, and a room service charge. Chef's Selection 2. The last 4 digits of the card matched our joint account. I sat back. For a moment, everything was silent except the faint hum of the lights above me. Then a quiet, shaking laugh escaped. "Of course," I whispered. Ha, of course. Shock did not come. Evidence had already taken its place. I slid the photos back into their envelope, my hands trembling just slightly. Filing is a way to breathe without breaking down. Alina placed a second note on the desk. "The chair moved the coffee to a conference room and will bring counsel." Unusual. Unusual is better than vague, I murmured, still staring at the photos. Then a chat bubble blinked on my screen. Marcus. "My brother, Croatia next month. He wants to reserve a villa. You in?" Another bubble. "He promised to cover flights if we book by Friday." I froze. Friday matched a pending transfer on the joint account. A hollow laugh escaped me. Patterns reveal themselves when silence listens long enough. I typed, "Let me check my calendar," and closed the window. At 2, Nicole arrived. Charcoal suit, leather notebook, eyes that missed nothing. "Give me the shape," she said. "Conflict review at 7. Unknown login from the Riverside Hotel. 3 photographs and a receipt charged to the joint card. A pending transfer clearing Friday. Family messages that sound rehearsed? She began to write, pen slicing the page like a scalpel. Motive, status and proximity to power. Means your shared access. Moment. Now. Because your work is entering rooms that used to belong to him. I blinked hard. What do you need from me? Operating agreements, titles, postnuptial if it exists. Evidence chains, screenshots, metadata. We will freeze the joint account before the close of business. The postnuptial exists, I said quietly. Find it, she replied. I pulled the folder from the cabinet, hands steady now. She scanned, nodded. Separate property remains separate. Business income remains separate. Joint accounts limited to household expenses. Assets acquired through your LLC belong to your LLC. Clean. Her tone was satisfaction disguised as law. The photos, anonymous sender. Could be a warning. Could be a taunt. Could be someone trying to survive what they know. She tapped the receipt. Merchant code? I forwarded the screenshot. The bank confirmed. Riverside Group Hospitality. The timestamp matched the image perfectly. I will draft the freeze letter now, she said. If the chair asks about conflict, answer with recusal policy. Sit with the light behind them, she left. I exhaled, long, shaking. A laugh stuck somewhere in my throat. Ha ha ha, my voice cracked. The room felt lighter. I opened the sealed committee letter at last. A provisional appointment to the Urban Resilience Subcommittee. My eyes filled suddenly. Oh, half joy, half pain. Contingent on conflict review due to active work in the district. Bring disclosures you believe relevant. The door stood open, if I entered correctly. The program from the gala still sat folded in my bag. A date circled in ink, 3 weeks ahead. A closed-door reception for donors and lead creatives. That night could not be missed. That would be the room where I would make them see. I added the date to my notes with one line beside it. Arrive with proof. The bank ledger stared back at me. One transaction missing cents. A transfer set for Friday 9:02 a.m., a hotel authorization Thursday 11:24 p.m. His calendar said he was across town. The numbers lied for him, but not to me. Evening settled. The team packed up. I stayed silent as a companion now. The joint account displayed balances. Restaurants I had never dined in, jewelry I never wore, a storage unit fee I had never approved. My jaw tightened. The address sat near the train yard, June texted. He says the committee meets Saturday. Do not push yourself with these civic things. Not every seat is a good seat. Concern wrapped in poison. I smiled sadly. Oh. You have no idea, I whispered. Night thickened. I left the office, crossed the bridge, and followed the map. The storage facility loomed under sodium lamps. The attendant looked up, blinking. Recent visits? I asked. He checked the log. 2 daytime, 1 late. Always alone. He slid me a clipboard. My breath hitched. The screen showed a camera feed. Him. My husband. Rolling crate, phone, lock, practice, precision. I watched the footage, teeth pressed together until my jaw hurt. He opened the unit. A flash of canvas, a small safe, tubes, a garment box with the boutique logo from his card charges. He signed something, turned the page, and left. The feed cut to static, resumed empty. I exhaled, slow, trembling. All right, I whispered. All right, the lights hummed above me. The world did not flinch. I left the card with the address burning in my hand like proof too hot to hold. Home smelled of his candle. His coat on the chair. His lies hang in the air like perfume. He walked in, polished, smiling. You are late, he said. You will miss the reservation, I replied, calm but shaking. You are in a mood. I am in a calendar, I said flatly. I have the morning at 7. The committee? He asked, pretending casual concern. You should let me handle those rooms. I smiled faintly. You already handle enough rooms. Silence cracked the air. He mistook it for surrender. We can discuss this in the car. Wear blue. It flatters you when the light hits. Wear whatever you like, I said softly. You will be dining alone. His mouth tightened. You will regret this tone when you need introductions. The phone on the counter buzzed. Clara, Sweet confirmed. Same view. Bring the card. He froze. I slid the phone toward him. lips trembling into a quiet laugh, ha ha ha, before I could stop it. He pocketed the device, adjusted his cuff, muttered, "I will be back late." "I am aware," I said. My voice was too calm, he left. The sound of the door closing was almost kind. I made tea. The kettle sang, the steam fogged the glass and cleared again. I stood there, smiling faintly, eyes wet. "Ah, look at that," I whispered. Still boiling, still breathing. Then I worked. I opened my laptop, created a folder, Receipts Primary. I added the photographs, alerts, bank screenshots, and the committee letter. My pulse steadied as I typed, a one-page timeline with hours and locations. Proof pure and simple. My mother's message arrived next. "He told us you are under strain. Best to let him shepherd the civic work. He understands those levels. Love wrapped in erasure, Marcus again. Flights are cheaper if we book by Friday." I laughed quietly. No humor in it this time. I placed the binder, the letter, and the key into my bag. The house hummed softly. I turned off the light, and for once, the dark did not scare me. In bed, I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding like a construction hammer in my chest. Tears slipped quietly. One after another. I let them fall until they stopped. Dawn came pale and cold. I rose, dressed, tied my hair back. At the sink, the ring waited. I touched it once, exhaled, and left it there. A single text blinked on the screen. Breakfast after the meeting. We should align our talking points. I smiled faintly, powered the phone down. Talking points require shared purpose. We had none left. The key pressed into my palm through the fabric of my bag, cool and constant. I stepped outside, heart steady, no anger. No fear, just sequence, schedule, proof. Ha ha ha. He will see, and when he does, he will realize. This silence is not surrender. It is the sound of the ground shifting beneath his feet. Morning began with lists. I set a blank legal pad beside my laptop and wrote one word at the top in a heavy stroke. Order. Underneath, I drew 5 columns titled People, Proof, Timing, Action, and Backup. Precision is an architect's first language. Revenge borrows the same vocabulary. The steadiness of it soothed the shake in my hands. The first column filled quickly. Nicole Ferrara, attorney, corporate, 5 years on retainer. Carlos Mendez, senior foreman, riverfront lead. Jack Morrison, demolition foreman, knows expedited permitting. Emily Chin, friend, confidant, logistics help. Auditor contact. Marcus Lung, forensic accounting at Holcomb and Reed. Each name carried a short note about access and a single verb. Call. Meet, file, preserve, subpoena, ha ha ha, such simple verbs for such heavy truth. I spread the photographs on the table and numbered them with a small sticker. 1, 2, 3. Metadata mattered. The timestamp on the balcony shot matched the hotel's internal log, but camera angles sometimes lied. The receipt corroborated a time window. The storage footage suggested a sequence. Correlation is kindness in the law. It turned scattered evidence into a story, and my throat tightened as the story breathed. Oh. Nicole arrived with coffee and a legal calm that makes panic feel decorative. She did not come alone to set the tone. She brought a small leather recorder in a case the color of an unembellished fact. "Do not play this in public," she said, placing the recorder on the table with the same care an engineer uses for a caliper. "If something here is criminal, we will need a chain of custody before anyone hears a word." "What is it?" I asked, voice low, almost a hush. "A recording I obtained for a previous matter," she said. "It is anonymous, but it contains a voice you might recognize. I want you to listen only after we secure a process and a timeline. Evidence without process is theater, not justice." Her methodical voice folded into my list. I added recording, not yet played beneath proof, and circled it. Open loops secrete weight when left unread. I preferred to control which surprises arrived first. Oh, the restraint made my chest ache. We mapped timelines on a whiteboard. The gala occurred on Thursday late evening. The hotel receipt indicated activity into the small hours. The storage footage showed visits the previous week. The pending transfer cleared Friday morning at 9:02 a.m. The municipal chair's coffee awaited Saturday at 7. The donor reception 3 weeks hence would gather the city's gatekeepers in a room whose walls favored those who carry references. Ah, the room I had earned and he had assumed. Nicole wrote the clause that matters most in legal shorthand. Post-nuptial clause, business income, LLC asset protection, separate property carve-out. She underlined LLC and drew a vertical line to a note. Confirm title to property, chain of invoices for renovations, proof of mortgage payments from business account. Paperwork turns abstract claims into immovable objects. Ha ha ha, yes. Let paper carry what my heart could not. Next, I called Marcus Lung. He answered within 3 rings and then apologized without effect for his promptness, an accountant's habit when numbers are urgent. Send me the bank transaction IDs, he said. I will pull a trace and see whether the charge routing fits a straight merchant code or a layered funnel. If the merchant code routes through a hospitality group with subsidiary transfers, I want to know the pass-through path. Also, I said, the storage facility. Can you pull any commercial invoices registered to the unit and check any unusual corporate purchases that align with his reported meetings? I have a team for that, Marcus replied. I will need access to the joint account and proxy permission. Nicole will call the bank, I said. Freeze is pending. We will coordinate a legal hold on records. Paper moves faster when lawyers and auditors agree on verbs. I added an audit trace to the board and connected it with a red line to storage unit, hotel, and joint account. My pen scratched. My pulse steadied. Ah. Calls filled the morning in an efficient cadence. Jack Morrison answered on the second ring, voice graveled by years of engines. You want expedited permits, he said. You pay for favors. Permits do not move in a day unless someone lets them. If you can name names and show why speed matters to public interest, I will make calls. Speed is necessary, I said. I will need a demonstration of expedited permitting processes for a project timeline presentation. Also, I will need your help at a later stage. I do controlled demolition, he said. I am precise. I know how to bring things down so they do not take extra property with them. Why do you ask? Research, I said. Professional curiosity. Jack laughed a short, honest laugh. Ha ha ha. No malice, only craft. Curiosity keeps the young architects busy. Call me when you want the demo paperwork. I will keep my calendar open for the right cause. The plan took shape in sequences rather than drama. First, secure documentation and freeze the account. Second, corroborate the hotel and storage details through a forensic trace. Third, prepare the municipal meeting with counsel and preemptive disclosures. Fourth, quietly secure a line of professional witnesses. Carlos to confirm site scheduling, Jack to verify timelines for any structural references, Marcus to trace money. Fifth, hold the recording in reserve as the last stage reveal. My throat warmed with a hush of relief. Order was a blanket. I built a schedule across the pad. Each day contained actions measured in hours. Thursday night, preserve hotel camera logs. Friday morning, freeze joint account and subpoena merchant records. Friday afternoon, meet Marcus. Saturday, 07, municipal coffee with counsel. Monday, board presentation with anchor footage. 3 weeks, donor reception with prepared evidence deck. Nicole advised margin plans. Assume obstruction, she said. Assume one ally will fold. Prepare alternative witnesses. Assume the family will spin. Our job is to make spin irrelevant by presenting documents that are self-explanatory. She checked the post-nuptial clause again and added a margin note. Confirm signatures and witness notary dates. Notary dates matter when memories try to rearrange time. Ha 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 ha. Memory loves theater. Signatures love stone. Research follows necessity. I spent the afternoon pulling archive logs and cross-referencing metadata. Photographs hold more truth than faces. File headers revealed device IDs, GPS tags, and camera make. The hotel images contained a faint alphanumeric signature tied to a staff camera that logs to a property server. The file compression betrayed the software used to export it. The receipt carried an authorization code. which in turn referenced a merchant account and terminal ID. I added each micro detail to a growing spreadsheet with rows that felt like stitches. Oh, stitching skin after a cut. Around 5, Carlos sent footage of the anchor placement. He annotated the video with timestamps and GPS coordinates. I exported frames and inserted them into the evidence folder. When he emailed the inspector's note, he added a line. Inspector praised procedure. Will testify to the proper chain on request. A foreman's willingness to testify is a practical kind of courage, and my eyes pricked at the quiet loyalty. I arranged a meeting with Emily at an odd hour, 10 p.m., because some resources are easier to coordinate when they do not draw attention. Emily arrived with a duffel bag and a calm that smells of late-night kitchens. Logistics, she announced without preamble. I can pick up and store items if you need custody. I can help with staging a reveal that looks like coincidence. You are offering to hold evidence? I asked, my voice softening. Oh, the comfort of a friend. I am offering to keep it dry, secret, and available, she said. You will want neutral custody from someone who is not family. Neutral custody reduces accusations about planting. It also preserves chain of custody if moved correctly. I printed a simple acknowledgement form and asked Emily to sign. She did so with a neat hand and a brief comment. I will keep a copy. I laughed, a small, grateful sound that felt like a breath returning. 2 files remained unread. One was Nicole's recorder in its leather case. The other sat on my phone as a voicemail label. Audio unknown Sakimarmin. Anxiety is not helpful until it is structured. I set a rule. The recording would be played only in the presence of Nicole and one neutral witness, recorded into a new file to secure a chain of custody. The rule became a promise. A promise held my spine straight. Late into the evening, I drafted the disclosure package for the municipal chair. I wrote a plain letter that reflected the principles I wanted to control. Transparency, documentation, willingness to recuse if necessary, and a commitment to procedural integrity. I included a timeline of the recent events, attached PDFs of the photos, and flagged the merchant transaction as under audit. The letter used no rhetoric. It used references. Ha ha ha, let the facts do the speaking I once begged love to do. At midnight, after the city had sighed into silence, I reviewed the plan with Nicole and Marcus over a secure line. Nicole spoke in clipped sentences that felt like the safekeeping of pressure points. Freeze the joint account by midday and notify the bank of potential fraud and forged authorizations, she said. Subpoena the hotel logs for cameras in the private lounge. Request the storage unit log by signature name and timestamp. Send Marcus the transaction IDs with a note for a deep trace request. Marcus confirmed a team scheduled for the morning. We will want the card merchant routing and any pass-through transfers. If the merchant uses corporate entities, we will trace ownership. That may take time, but it will show where funds flowed. We will need the post-nuptial scanned and authenticated, Nicole added. If the assets are LLC-owned, any attempted mortgage or lien may be invalid. That will change counsel's leverage if needed. I slept for 2 hours and rose like someone practicing daylight. Oh, tired, but steady. The plan is best not slept through. It prefers attention? The alarm pushed pre-dawn light through the blinds. I dressed in a way that did not warn and did not perform. I took the binder labeled chair and placed it in a secure courier bag. On the platform, the city moved with ordinary purpose. I listened to the rhythm of footsteps and rehearsed the order of the morning. The chair's assistant requested a shorter meeting and offered a conference room on the 3rd floor. 7 a.m. is unusual because most meetings at that hour are practical, not performative. Practicality favors truth. And I clung to that like a railing. Nicole met me at the conference room with her recorder sealed in evidence tape. Marcus arrived with a laptop full of traces, his eyes already carrying numbers into their probable conclusions. The chair entered politely but brisk, followed by counsel who did not bother with pleasantries. I handed the binder across the table and did not speak immediately. Documents have gravity when placed in the right light. The chair opened the folder and read the cover letter. The counsel scanned the items. Nicole watched faces. My heart counted breaths. Ms. Vaughn, the chair began, We appreciate your candor. Conflict review is a procedure. We will examine disclosures carefully. I have provided everything in good faith, I said. If there is any question about my firm's independence, I will recuse rather than obstruct the process. My priority is public interest. The counsel nodded. We will ask for a formal disclosure and confer internally. Thank you for the prompt submission. We left the room with civility intact and the process in motion. That was the point. Movement is the engine of consequence. Ha ha ha, let it run. The legal hold on the bank appeared as an email confirmation at 9 a.m. The pending transfer showed frozen. Marcus sent the first report by 10. The storage facility acknowledged a subpoena for access records by noon. The small recording remained unread on Nicole's table like a promise. I had set rules about when and how it would be heard. The rules are a part of the blueprint, and the blueprint kept my courage from weeping into the floor. Ah. By evening, the skeleton of the operation stood up on its own. Accounts frozen. Subpoenas filed, witnesses primed, evidence collated, a disclosure delivered to the committee, and neutral custody secured for sensitive items. The plan had teeth without showing them all at once. I sat alone with the leather recorder between my hands and a blue ballpoint pen that had already drawn timelines and arrows. The city outside breathed without mercy. The outcome remained uncertain because human intentions are not laws, and because grace is rare in matters where reputation and money meet. My eyes stung, but I held steady. The line between preparation and performance thinned at midnight when Nicole placed the recorder into a double-locked evidence bag and sealed it with numbered tape. I initialed the bag. Emily witnessed. Marcus logged the action. My breath shivered, then calmed. Oh, almost a quiet weeping of relief. The plan was now in motion. The pieces had names, times, and procedures. Proof had been collected. Counsel had a path to argue with facts rather than fury. Still, even the cleanest blueprint acknowledges its vulnerability. People shift, witnesses fold, and favors expire. The outcome had not been decided. Control had begun, and that for now was everything. Ha ha ha. Everything I needed to keep walking. Dawn felt deliberate. I woke with a list already in my head and the binder against my ribs like a promise. Oh, steady, breathing, ready. The first strike would be careful and surgical, not dramatic. Precision wins where fury loses its breath. Yes, I dressed in neutral colors that do not demand notice and left the apartment with the courier bag containing the chair packet and a second folder stamped Nicole. Immediate. My pulse quiet but insistent. The bank call waited at 8. The branch manager answered and thanked Nicole for the paperwork she had sent. Professional warmth that softened my shoulders. Ah. She confirmed a temporary freeze on all transfers originating from the joint account, pending verification. The word freeze placated me the way a secured lock calms concern. Click safe. Nicole added an immediate request for transaction hold notices to be forwarded to her inbox and for the bank to flag any attempt at manual countermanding. The manager confirmed and provided an internal contact line. The process felt competent and human, and I laughed under my breath. Ha 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 ha. Because competence can feel like mercy. Next, I visited the storage facility with Emily in the passenger seat. She arrived early with a nondescript duffel and a calm face that reads as neutral custody. Oh, that quiet loyalty. The facility manager greeted us like a man who understands both bolts and privacy. He handed over a log under subpoena and allowed supervised access to the camera feeds. The footage from 3 nights earlier played on a small monitor. A figure entering Unit 2C with a rolling cart, a flash of canvas, a cardboard box, the measured movements of someone who did not hurry and who had the routine of a repeat visitor. My stomach tightened. My eyes stung. Still, I kept watching. The footage confirmed timestamps and the signature on the clipboard matched the penmanship we had seen in other records. I snapped frames and saved metadata to a secure drive. Emily agreed to accept temporary custody of one small cardboard box retrieved from the unit, provided I signed a chain of custody form. I initialed the form and watched her load the box into her car with the neutral precision of someone who understands when evidence must not be in view. Oh, Bless her steady hands. Back at the office, Carlos called with a request. "The inspector wants the anchor recheck on Monday," he said. They saw a tolerance that was tight. Tighter tolerances mean more work and the need for an unbroken record. "We can fix it," he added, "but I will need your presence for the re-inspection." I scheduled the recheck for Monday and noted the inspector's name. The action would build credibility later when witnesses are required in public. I breathed out, "Ha ha ha ha," because even worrying can sound like progress when it has a date. At noon, a courier delivered a legal-looking envelope addressed to my husband at our home. The return address indicated a boutique jeweler in Cambridge. The envelope carried weight. He had been showing a taste for trinkets that did not fit his declared salary. The envelope added a question I would later connect to the Cambridge gold pickup in the bank ledger. I routed the envelope into the evidence folder and photographed the seal, my hands steady though my throat ached. Oh, Nicole called again. She had heard from the bank and asked whether I would authorize a limited forensic image of any devices used to access my cloud archive. The image would preserve metadata. The forensic company she recommended had experience with hospitality chains and property servers. I authorized the work. Forensics begin with patience and a willingness to allow time to confess. Ha ha ha. Let the numbers talk. A delivery slipped into play that the betrayers did not expect. Public process. I submitted the chair packet to the municipal office with a copy to council and a courtesy email to the committee members. The packet included a clear timeline, the photographs, a notarized copy of the postnuptial and LLC documents, and a request for an expedited review should council find cause. The packet was formal and unapologetic. The legal equivalent of a doorbell had sounded in the right house. Ding, ding, deliberate. I used small procedural moves to create leverage. A formal request to the hotel for camera archives arrived under subpoena by 3 p.m. The hotel's legal team replied that they would comply but required notice. The response arrived with a timeline that put access to footage under legal cover within 48 hours. The process had delayed them. Delay buys perspective and often a chance to fix mistakes before exposure. Ah, how fear scrambles. While the legal moves progressed, I managed the softer theater. I confirmed the donor reception itinerary and learned that seating charts were being finalized this week. The list of attendees circulated in an internal memo with names that had been invisible until they were not. A few of them led me back to firms that had benefited from projects I had steered. The donor room would not only host net worth, it would host proof if I arranged the right slides and the right testimonies. Ha ha ha. Imagine their faces when numbers meet light. Complications emerged like small fractures in glass. A family dinner text from my mother changed tone. "He is worried that you will overwork." She is concerned for you. Concern disguised pressure when voiced by family members who pick fights with silence. I noted the pattern and did not answer. Emotional currents run deep and often attempt to drown the best plans if they can pull you into the tide. Oh, I felt the tug and held the shore. A quieter complication appeared in the form of a phone call from an unexpected source. Clara, the woman in the photographs, called the firm's main number and asked to speak to someone about a small donation. Her voice was bright and practiced. She left a call back. The call introduced a noise that could escalate into an accusation or a confession depending on her loyalty and timing. A quiet ally had not yet shown herself. Clara might be useful or dangerous. That ambiguity was itself a risk to manage. My breath fluttered, then steadied. I prepared a controlled release of information to trigger specific responses, not to dramatize, but to test. Nicole drafted a short public statement meant for internal distribution only. We commit to transparency and invite a procedural review. We welcome oversight. We will comply fully with inquiries. The statement did not attack. It merely declared a foundation of candor and left the moral burden with anyone who would accuse without facts. Ah, what a relief to let truth stand without shouting. At 4, Marcus sent a preliminary trace. The merchant code that processed the hotel charge showed routing through a hospitality group that lists several subsidiaries. The transaction moved within a holding pattern for less than an hour and then passed to a corporate procurement account before settling on a local vendor. The forensic trail implied that the charge might have been routed to mask direct purchase origins. It was not proof alone. It was a map. I smiled. Ha ha ha. Maps always find doors. I scheduled 2 moves that would require coordination. First, the bank would receive Nicole's freeze and an additional request to flag any attempt to withdraw more than a threshold amount. Second, a quiet notice would be sent to the board that my presentation would include time-stamped footage and invoices. Both steps positioned me as a professional who expected documentation rather than theatrics. My chest loosened. My eyes warmed. Because dignity has its own sound. The evening brought opportunity. A donor had offered a preview tour of a private suite in the seaport for a small group of guests the following week. The offer read as a gesture, but gestures have chains. I accepted the preview as a way to place witnesses casually near the same spaces he had recently visited. Witnesses in the right place at the right time convert suspicion into corroboration. I could almost hear the quiet click of alignment. Ha ha ha, satisfying. My team worked late. Javier annotated drawings and Carlos uploaded supplementary video. Alina confirmed the courier chain and called to verify that Emily had stored the box in neutral custody. The small acts of coordination create an architecture of credibility. They also attract attention from those who study patterns. The betrayers had not yet noticed because they were busy rehearsing the illusion. Illusion needs company to work. Oh, how lonely truth can look until it wins. At 9 p.m., I received an unexpected call. It was Jack Morrison. His voice carried the rough kindness of someone who has seen buildings die well and buildings die poorly. I pulled a favor, he said simply. There is an expedited permit channel that can show precedent for emergency approvals. It will not look good on a developer who relies on borrowed signatures without process. If you ever need to show how quickly something moves when the paperwork exists, I can produce the precedent. Jack's assistance was an unseen rope. I added him in the column labeled Untested Ally, and then drew a line to Permitting Precedent. His willingness to help suggested a loyalty not yet proven publicly. Allies come with their own discretion and motives, but an ally who understands how to move permits without fanfare is someone who can make timing mean something. Gratitude stung sweetly. A small win arrived like a quiet bell. At midnight, Nicole emailed confirmation that the bank had accepted the freeze and that the joint card flagged as 0934 had no pending withdrawals beyond the initial suspicious charge. The account balance remained secure. Marcus followed with an initial draft showing the routing trail and flagged the storage facility signatures. The forensic image request for my cloud archive was scheduled for the morning. Everything had a hinge. I laughed softly. Ha 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 ha. Because hinges mean doors will open where they should. Before sleeping, I drafted an internal presentation. Slide 1, timeline. Slide 2, photographic evidence. Slide 3, financial trace. Slide 4, storage footage. Slide 5, witness list and scheduled court-ready testimonies. The deck was factual and spare. The narrative would not be emotional. It would be structural. Still, my eyes watered. Because structure is how I keep from breaking. The micro-twist arrived quietly at 2 a.m. A message from an unknown number appeared on my phone after midnight. You do not know the full story. Walk away. This will not end the way you expect. The number withheld identity. The threat felt possible and useless at the same time. If someone wanted me afraid, they did not understand my method. The unknown message revealed 2 useful things. Someone watched and someone feared exposure. Fear and surveillance make different mistakes. I smiled, thin as paper. Ha ha ha. Fear talks too much. I considered responses that night and decided that silence would be the answer. Replies create dialogue and invite counteroffers. I archived the message in a safe file and forwarded the header to Nicole. She added it to the chain of evidence. My hands trembled, then settled. The first strike had moved on schedules and procedures rather than spectacle. Accounts were frozen. Camera requests had legal cover. Storage footage existed with chain acknowledgement. An ally had been identified in a man who knows permitting, and a small box of evidence moved into neutral custody. A quiet win had become a practical one, and my breath finally felt whole. Complications remained. Clara had called. Family pressure persisted. The unknown number had reached out. Yet the plan now had muscles. The betrayers still believed they held narrative advantage because they rehearsed charm while I preserved proof. The micro-twist, the anonymous message, repointed attention toward a watcher in the wings. That watcher would matter if she or he chose to speak publicly. My heart lifted and hurt at once. Ow. I slept in fits that night and woke to a calendar marked by the small red underline of effects. The outcomes remained uncertain. People can change their minds. Evidence can be contested. Allies can retreat. Yet the first strike had shown that small, precise actions could shift an argument from rumor to record. Ha ha ha. From noise to notes. Preparation is not triumph, but it is the only place where triumph begins. The plan had progressed from blueprint to motion. The stage set itself. The next act would require presence in a room where screens reveal truth and where a pause can feel like a verdict. The micro-twist had added danger, but danger sharpens focus rather than dulls it. Oh, I felt the edge and welcomed it. I closed the presentation and breathed once, deliberate. The first strike had landed without spectacle and with consequence. Now the story would wait for the people to speak, or for the papers to do so for them. The city woke beneath pale light, but I felt no weight from its noise. Every sound, the rattle of rails, the hiss of brakes, the hum of the street, carried a rhythm that matched my pulse. I had reached a stage beyond anger, beyond pain. The plan had matured into momentum, and momentum no longer asked permission. Ha ha ha. It simply moved. Nicole called as I walked into the office. Her voice was measured, the way seasoned attorneys sound when the tide has turned. The subpoenaed footage from the hotel arrived, she said. I viewed it with chain witnesses. It confirms what we suspected. She paused, letting silence gather like breath before a confession. Your husband signed the suite ledger personally. The same card ending in 0934 was used at ER. 11:24 p.m. The hotel log shows an entry by Clara D. at 11:16. They were recorded exiting together at 2:07, and my stomach tightened. For a heartbeat, I forgot how to exhale. Then I laughed softly, bitterly. Ha ha ha, because of course he did. I let her words settle like dust over glass. Visible, undeniable, but already accounted for. Any signs of tampering? I asked, my tone calm though my hands trembled slightly. None, Nicole replied. Chain integrity verified by hotel security and timestamp authentication. I have secured certified copies. Marcus will review for transaction correlation. Good, I whispered. We move when the evidence aligns. The recording? She asked. Not yet, I said. That file deserves the right hour. Open loops thrive on timing. Patience is not hesitation. It is choreography. At 9:15 a.m., an email appeared from the municipal chair's office. The subject line read, Conflict review resolved. My breath caught. My chest tightened before my eyes reached the body. Ms. Vaughn, following review of your disclosures and supporting materials, the committee finds no conflict in your proposed appointment. Your transparency is appreciated. We welcome your insight on urban resilience policy. Beneath her signature, a single handwritten note. You once saved our project from collapse. Consider this the debt repaid. My throat swelled. Oh, and I smiled through the ache. The favor I had earned years ago had just repaid itself with precision. I did not need applause. I needed a position. And now the position was mine. At noon, I met Nicole in her office. Marcus joined remotely via video. On the table lay the leather recorder, sealed and initialized. Nicole sliced the tape, pressed play, and let the voice fill the air. Static, then a low hum, followed by conversation. Two voices. His voice, my husband's. The sound made my chest tighten so sharply I had to steady my breath. She will not survive scrutiny, he said. She built that firm using my network. When the review starts, they will find her hands in every deal. She will be disqualified before the next board vote. The other man replied, You are certain the transfer clears Friday? Already in motion. Once she is under review, I will discover discrepancies and offer to stabilize operations. The narrative writes itself. I covered my mouth. My eyes stung. A small, helpless sound escaped. Oh. Nicole paused the recording gently. That qualifies as intent and collusion, she said quietly. Do you wish to take this public? Not yet, I managed, voice trembling but sure. Publicity ruins subtlety. We will use this at the donor reception when witnesses are assembled. Quiet exposure in a loud room always lands harder. Marcus leaned forward on the screen. We traced the storage facility contents, he said. The crate Emily retrieved contained hard copies of contract drafts, your firm's. But the headers had been altered. Someone attempted to forge your signature. My throat burned. My eyes filled. He forged me, I whispered. Nicole tapped the table, her tone firm. Forgery, fraudulent access, financial diversion. We have a triad of facts. Once we display proof, his reputation will implode under the weight of his own arrogance. A soft, shaky laugh slipped out of me. Ha ha ha. I thought of the small key on my desk, the one engraved with later. For years it had been my quiet promise that justice would wait until it was earned. It has become more than a symbol now. It was a switch. The donor reception was scheduled for Friday night. He did not know the committee had cleared my name that morning. He believed I was still under review, vulnerable, uncertain, desperate to prove innocence. That misunderstanding would be the lever. Nicole prepared a deadline no one but us would see, a scheduled court filing for Monday at 9 a.m., containing all evidence sealed under her firm's custody. If he tried to move assets or tamper with proof over the weekend, the filing would auto-submit. I smiled faintly. Insurance by automation, I said. We rehearsed the timeline like choreography. Thursday evening, I would upload the presentation deck. Friday morning, Marcus would deliver the audit report. Friday night, I would attend the donor reception. Saturday morning, Nicole would meet me for signature confirmation, a chain of actions invisible to anyone watching. By Thursday afternoon, his tone began to change. His messages shifted from command to coaxing. We should talk before Friday's event. Too much tension lately. You know how appearances matter. Appearances. Always appearances. I laughed under my breath, quiet and bitter. Ha ha ha. I typed only, we will speak at the reception. He would expect civility. What he would receive was truth, framed in documentation and time-stamped proof. Carlos called to confirm Monday's reinspection. The plate held, he said proudly. 0 deviation, I smiled. Documentation matters, he chuckled. You sound like you already know the outcome. Outcomes are built, I said. Not awaited. The ballroom shimmered with chandeliers shaped like inverted crowns. Men in suits floated through laughter. Women sparkled like glass. I arrived late, deliberately, wearing a slate gray gown that caught the light but never begged for it. He stood near the center, laughing, ha ha ha, too loudly, too smoothly. When he saw me, his smile trembled just for a second. Nicole lingered near the back, calm as gravity. Marcus's live feed streamed the audit report to her tablet. Emily waited outside with the courier envelope holding certified hotel footage. Each ally knew their cue. The hostess called for attention, introducing the theme of the night, legacy through integrity. The irony almost made me laugh aloud. Halfway through dinner, the hostess began announcing new appointments. When she reached my name, the room hushed. Hazel Vaughn, she said. Appointed to the Urban Resilience Policy Board, effective immediately. Applause rippled, uneven, confused. My husband's face fell. Oh, that priceless shock, and then forced smile. He stood and extended a hand. Congratulations, he said, voice taut. Cameras flashed. I took his hand, smiled softly, and felt the tremor in his palm. When the clapping faded, I spoke. Integrity is architecture, I said steadily. It survives only when every joint bears its share of weight. Nicole gave a small nod. I walked to the projector. The host invited me to share a brief overview of my upcoming initiative. The perfect stage was ready. The first slide, the riverfront map. The second, construction progress. The third, contracts, authentic, verified, time-stamped. Then, the fourth. The hotel receipt. Projected large, clear, no explanation. Just numbers, names, dates. Gasps broke like glass around the room. My husband's face was drained of color. He opened his mouth, closed it. "This," I said, my voice steady though my hands tingled, "is what oversight looks like. Every project, personal or public, leaves an imprint. Truth, like structure, cannot be hidden under the surface." Then the waveform appeared. I pressed play. His voice filled the ballroom. "She will not survive scrutiny. Once she is under review, I will discover discrepancies and offer to stabilize operations." Awe rippled through the crowd. Ah, a sound between disbelief and disgust. I stopped the audio before the reply. I did not need more. Silence can say everything. My husband stammered. "That recording?" Nicole stepped forward. "Authenticated by forensic review," she said calmly. "Certified this morning. Your signature authorizes every transaction under investigation." He blinked rapidly. "This is clearly a misunderstanding. Creative editing." But the evidence had already been mirrored to every donor's device via the transparency link Marcus's team distributed seconds earlier. Ha 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 ha! Precision had replaced power. The hostess tried to recover. "Perhaps we should—" "No," I said softly. "Let the record stand." The final slide filled the screen, the key engraved with "later" glowing under the spotlight. "This," I said, "is what patience looks like." The crowd murmured. The walls themselves seemed to hum. He took a step toward me, voice trembling. "You planned this?" "Yes," I said quietly. "Blueprints are plans." His hand dropped. His expression shattered. For the first time, he looked small, lost, utterly human. The event ended without applause. It ended with an order. Security escorted him out politely. Reporters whispered. Cameras turned. Outside, rain began to fall. Soft, slow, cleansing. Nicole joined me on the steps. "The filing is ready," she said. "We will release Monday if necessary, though I doubt it will be." Marcus texted, "Audit complete. Funds frozen. Storage forgery logged." I nodded, tears blurring the streetlights. Quiet weeping of release. The chain had closed itself. At home, I placed the key engraved "later" beside the open envelope that had started everything. I ran my thumb over the letters. It had never been about revenge. It was about balance. I turned the key once. Slowly, smiling through wet lashes. "Ha ha ha!" Softly, peacefully, and framed it beside the blueprint of the riverfront project. "Later" had finally become "now." The next morning, headlines bloomed like morning light. Architect exposes fraud at donor gala. The city issued a statement. Ms. Vaughn's evidence confirms procedural integrity. Carlos messaged, "Inspection passed. Zero deviation." I laughed, full and unguarded this time, ha ha ha, because that was it. The small, quiet victory. But every story leaves a thread uncut. The anonymous text from the night before, "You do not know the full story," still sat in my archive. The number traced to a disposable phone, no name. Nicole cautioned me, her voice low. "Someone else may have stakes in his fall. Be careful." "The ripples are not done," I smiled faintly. "Then let them come." Sunday evening, I sat by the window, city lights flickering like heartbeat. My phone buzzed once, unknown number again. No message. Only silence. I poured coffee, breathing slow, steadily. The first act, the exposure, the reversal, was complete. But confrontation is never just one scene. On my desk, the framed key caught lamplight, the word "later" shining like new metal. The next act waited, quiet and sure. Somewhere beyond my window, those who had watched me rise were already recalculating. Ha ha ha. Let them. The tables had turned, and gravity was mine to design. The air inside the conference room was unnaturally still. Not the silence of peace. This was the silence before a verdict. Ah. The city outside moved in its usual rhythm, but here time narrowed into precision. He arrived 5 minutes late. Always 5 minutes late, his favorite illusion of control, ha 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 ha. The guard opened the door for him, and he walked in wearing the same confidence he used to wear like a suit. But today it hung wrong. Nicole sat beside me, calm as an executioner of facts, steady, surgical. Marcus stood near the projector, laptop ready. The screen behind us glowed pale blue, waiting to display the truth. He tried to smile. Hazel, I appreciate you agreeing to meet privately. This is not private, I said evenly. It is official. He blinked, unsure whether to laugh. Come on, do we really need the lawyer? You have made your point. Let us talk like adults, Nicole interjected quietly. You had 12 years to talk like an adult. Today we talk with documentation. He turned to her, irritated. Is that a threat? It is a record, she said. Clean, cold. I slid a folder across the table. These are the final reconciliations, I said. Every transaction, every invoice, every fake expense under your authorization. He flipped through the pages with a smirk that faltered halfway down the second sheet. Oh. The numbers were circled, color-coded, annotated with Marcus's forensic notes. Each entry lined up perfectly with the receipts from the hotel, the jewelry store, and the storage unit. This is out of context, he said. You are twisting the data, Marcus stepped forward. We traced the merchant codes. The payment from the joint account was routed through a subsidiary and tagged under a false business expense. The metadata confirms you entered the transaction. He turned to me, voice tightening. You cannot prove intent. Nicole's voice sliced through the air. The recording proves intent. She pressed play. Once she is under review, I will discover discrepancies and take control. The narrative writes itself. His own voice filled the room, smug, strategic, unmistakable. My chest pulled tight. Ow. And I breathed through the sting. He froze. His jaw tightened, eyes flickering toward the door like a trapped animal measuring exits. I leaned forward. You spent years telling me I owed you my success, that you built the foundation beneath me, but it turns out you were building an exit instead. Ha ha ha, so neat, so cruel. He exhaled through his nose, half a laugh, half a confession. You think you have won because you embarrassed me? You always needed an audience, Hazel. Always needed someone to applaud your precision. No, I said. I needed someone to tell the truth. Since you would not, I did. Oh, he paced once, then stopped. You will regret this, he said. Regret, I said quietly, is a currency I stopped accepting. Nicole closed the folder with a soft, final sound. We are done pretending this is a misunderstanding. The court filing is ready. Once you sign the acknowledgement of service, we will proceed. He stared at the paper. His fingers twitched. You are serious? Completely, I said. Sign it or we proceed without your acknowledgement. It changes nothing. He hesitated, then scribbled his name. The pen left a shaky trail across the line. Oh, the tremor. When he looked up, I caught the smallest tremor in his voice. You destroyed everything, no, I said. You mistook me for something that could be destroyed. Ha ha ha, no more. Marcus projected the last image on the screen. The one thing even he had not seen until this morning. The Cambridge jewelry store invoice, dated 2 weeks before the Croatia trip. It listed a custom piece, white gold band engraved with initials HV and CA. His breath caught. That was ordered under your card, Marcus said, but delivered to her address. He looked at me, panic flickering into defiance. Do you know how vindictive you sound? This is an obsession. Obsession, I said, is doing the same deceit 12 years in a row and expecting no one to notice. Oh, Nicole turned off the recording device. We are finished here, but I was not. Not yet. He leaned forward, desperation seeping through his posture. We can still fix this, he said. You have your title, your board seat, your applause. I can step away quietly. You can keep your reputation intact. I met his eyes without blinking. My reputation does not depend on your silence. It depends on my choices. He straightened, anger returning. And what about your family? Your mother? Your siblings? You think they will forgive you for humiliating them? They already did, I said softly. The moment they realized who needed forgiving. Oh. He looked at Nicole. This is cruelty. Nicole's tone remained surgical. This is the consequence. He stood abruptly, the chair scraping against marble. You are cold, I smiled faintly. Controlled demolition always is. Ha ha ha. Clean lines. No rubble where it matters. The door opened. Emily entered quietly, holding a sealed envelope. She placed it on the table without a word. Inside were signed statements from 2 of his colleagues, both confirming his forged authorizations. Nicole opened the envelope, slid out the pages, and placed them before him. His face was drained of color. They did, I said. And before you imagine some conspiracy, understand this. People do not betray loyalty. They reveal where it never existed. Oh. The silence that followed was long enough to hear the clock on the wall measure each heartbeat. Tick, tick, verdict. He sank back into the chair. So that is it? Yes, I said. That is it. Nicole gathered the documents. The filing proceeds Monday at 9, she said. You will receive official notice of property division, fraud charges, and breach of post-nuptial terms. He did not look at her. His gaze remained on me. Do you feel better? I thought for a long moment before answering. No, but I feel honest. Ah, clean, even if it hurts. He laughed once. Bitter, brittle. You are colder than I ever imagined. Maybe, I said. Or maybe I just stopped building shelters for storms that were never mine. He rose slowly, glanced at Nicole, then Marcus. You win. No, I said, standing too. I will rebuild. Ha ha ha. Brick by steady brick. He turned toward the door, but paused when my voice stopped him. One more thing, I said. That house you thought was your safety net. It will reopen next year as a women's mentorship foundation, funded entirely by the settlement you just signed. He froze. You are turning our home into a lesson, I said. Oh. He walked out without another word. The door closed, soft and final, like a gavel against air. Nicole exhaled, breaking the silence. That was surgical. Marcus folded his laptop. He will not recover from the optics. I looked toward the window. The city moved in rhythm again, unbothered, alive. My throat loosened. My eyes stung. A breath like weeping and relief tangled together. Ow, justice, when designed properly, does not scream. It stands. I gathered the folders, straightened my jacket, and whispered the only line that felt true. Once it is built on truth, nothing falls. Ha ha ha, let it stand. The city felt quieter after the confrontation. It was not that the noise had stopped. Boston still hummed with its usual rhythm of wheels, footsteps, and sirens. But the volume inside me had changed. When anger leaves, it does not vanish. It simply folds into silence. That silence had weight. Heavy but strangely kind. For days, I moved like a person learning how to breathe again. Work resumed, schedules realigned, and my name began to circulate. Not as gossip, but as resilience. Yet every message of support carried a shadow. You must feel so proud. Pride was not what I felt. What I felt was distance, like I had stepped out of a burning house and was still watching the smoke from across the street, trembling, trying to believe I survived. My mother called first. Her voice on voicemail cracked in the middle, thin and trembling with anger. You humiliated this family. Do you know what people are saying about us? Your father barely leaves the apartment. I cannot understand how you could do this to your own blood. Her words dug like familiar nails. Ha ha ha, sharp but expected. She had always been loyal to appearances, never truth. I replayed the message once, just once and deleted it. Not out of spite, but mercy. Some voices wound every time you hear them. 2 days later, my father called. His voice was quieter, slower, almost uncertain. I read the reports, he said. I saw the evidence. You were right. You were always right, and I should have said it sooner. Ugh. My throat tightened. We met for coffee at the same small corner place where we had once tried to forgive each other. He looked older now, but lighter somehow. I do not hate your mother, he said. But I cannot protect her from herself anymore. I stayed too long pretending silence was peace. You showed me what real peace costs. We sat in wordless understanding for a long time, steam rising from our cups. That was the bridge I chose to rebuild, the only one worth keeping. The next morning, Marcus's message blinked on my phone. Transfer cleared. His counsel withdrew the appeal. Settlement finalized. I exhaled. Oh, softly. It was the last legal thread tying me to him. The paper's done, the numbers clean, the division final. Nicole called later to say the foundation registration was approved. The house I had torn down would rise again. Not as memory, but as meaning. Word spread quickly. Messages arrived, some apologetic, others congratulatory. I always believed in you. You're an inspiration. And the cruelest one. You must feel vindicated. I did not. Vindication sounds like victory, and victory is too loud for the kind of silence I had earned. Emily came by that evening with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. Ha ha ha. Like always. She knew when words were needed and when they were not. You did it, she said softly. But more than that, you finished it, I nodded. Finishing is easier than living with what follows. Her expression softened. Do you regret it? No, I said. But sometimes I wish I had not needed to do it at all. That means you are still human, she whispered. Ah. We toasted quietly, the glasses meeting the air but not each other. Even joy after fire feels sacred. Days later, an email arrived from an unfamiliar address. The subject line read simply, I am sorry. The message was short. Hazel, I never knew how deep it went. I believed what he told us, that you were distant, difficult, impossible to please. I was wrong. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. June, I stared at the screen for a long time, heartbeat slowing. June, the sister who once stood beside him at our wedding, smiling, toasting, laughing, ha ha ha, while my world began its quiet descent. The instinct to respond flickered, then died. Some bridges are better left admired from afar. Beautiful, dangerous, and no longer necessary. I archived the email. That was my answer. Nights were the hardest. Success makes noise in daylight, but silence blooms heavy after dark. I often stood by the window, watching headlights smear across the river. It was not loneliness, it was recognition. For years, I had lived beside a man who filled space with sound but not presence. Now the quiet was real. The framed key engraved later still sat on my desk, catching the light. Oh. It reminded me that promises to yourself must sometimes wait until your heart is ready to keep them. The foundation's construction began sooner than expected. Crews returned to the same address where everything had once fallen apart. I arrived on site one morning to find Carlos by a steel beam. Blueprint in hand. Déjà vu, he said. Except this time, I replied, smiling faintly. We build for people who need walls. Not illusions, he grinned. You always design like you are telling a story. I am, I said. Only this time, it is not mine alone. The old house, once a monument to pretense, would now become a refuge for those rebuilding their lives. Women restarting careers, students designing their futures, families learning how to stand again. Transformation, I realized, is not destruction. It is reallocation. Marcus visited weeks later to finalize the donation records. He flipped through papers and nodded, efficient as ever. Everything checks out. Funds clean, property deed confirmed, foundation secure. He hesitated before leaving. You know, he said quietly, Not everyone gets closure this clean. I smiled, tired but sincere. This is not clean, Marcus. It is necessary. After he left, I stood alone in the unfinished atrium. Light poured through the glass roof, scattering gold dust across the air. Ha ha ha. It felt like breathing inside sunlight. The air smelled of paint and possibility. I remembered the demolition day, noise, collapse, chaos. But now dust rises differently. It shimmered. It lived. A week later, a final text appeared on my phone. I am leaving the city. Do not worry. You will not hear from me again. No name. No signature. But I knew the tone, his tone. The man who once measured his worth by how small I stood beside him.